Sorry, all that clicking around. I have to check that we're actually live as we should be. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of That Album. I'm joined by my good friend, David, and today we're going to be talking about the Marshall Tucker Band, just in case you didn't get it the first time. And I do always feel that at this point, because obviously in the UK, this is like the end of the day. It's 4 p.m. here. So it feels like this is the beginning of the weekend. So
that's a great feeling. So it's 11 a.m. here. I got a full workday ahead of me.
Yeah.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So why this album?
I would say I wanted, let me come in and try to break the mold, but there is no mold for that album because that is the point of the show. Is all genres, all kinds of music. I wanted to explore Marshall Tucker a little more personally. And we're both guitar guys, and Toy Caldwell is an impressive guitar player, and there's a lot of guitar forwardness in their body of work, including this album. And I'm always amazed at bands' first albums because they're so young, as I get older, Adam, it's like, okay, these kids, they're not kids, but they're in their mid-20s. It's like, how do you do this?
Well, it is remarkable, isn't it? And I was watching, so oddly, I have just thought about buying a loop pedal, and I've just bought a loop pedal. And obviously the loop pedal king at the moment is Ed Sheeran, and everything's about him. But prior to him, maybe 20 years ago, there was a Scottish woman called Katie Tunstall, and she was like the first person to make a loop pedal, and just her and her guitar, where she would do all the backing tracks and stuff and loop it all up. And she did this on live TV. Her agent said to her, when she got the opportunity to do this thing on a show called Jules Holland, he said, you need to do this song, Black Horse and a Cherry Tree. And she was like, well, I haven't even recorded that. And he's like, trust me, that's the song you want to do. And she was in her early 20s when she did it. So it's just her and a microphone and a guitar, and her banging the guitar and looping it, and then singing the backing tracks and looping it, and banging and strumming and looping it. And then off she goes. And it was just breathtaking to get that level of kind of innovation and sophistication so young is remarkable. And so often when we look at these albums, you put it on and you go, my God, there's such a level of polish to this. It's just incredible for it to be a young person doing this, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, completely. Another piece of context, where I live in Western North Carolina, and I don't know how many viewers of the show are stateside or in Europe, and I know they're all over the world. Spartanburg, where this band originated, is about a 3-hour drive. From
your doorstep, really, by American standards.
Yes, yeah. Let's clarify. Yeah, that's almost a day trip. 3 hours is pushing it, but for example, I had a 2-hour one-way day trip yesterday. So here, not a big deal. 3 hours is a little long, but manageable.
Yeah.
And they embody rock and roll of the 70s. So there's some Southern heritage and Southern culture, though, as we'll see as we get into the album. Their influences are from all over this place, and each member of the band, as I'm researching, has really even said, we're a fusion of country rock and jazz, but you can't put us in any box. I mean, there's R&B, there's gospel, so they're just all over the place, and that's fun. And with the shared lead vocals between Doug and Toy, like, you just get two different personas from the band. So there's a lot going on with these guys.
Yeah, and so this album came out in 1973, didn't it? And
correct.
And some interesting stuff. In fact, 1973, the new London Bridge opened after your guy in Arizona bought the original London Bridge. Value-added tax was introduced on purchases. Women were admitted into the London Stock Exchange. The Cromwell Tower and the Barbican, which is like a big development in the centre of London, opened, and people that we know are kind of like big names. So Martha Lane Fox, Peter Andre, Alice Roberts, Noel Fielding, Fran Healy from what they called the band, Travis. Were all Alfie Boe was born, and films Day of the Jackal, Enter the Dragon, American Graffiti, The Sting, Live and Let Die, Serpico, Papillon, The Wicker Man, and The Exorcist all came out. And then albums like Dark Side of the Moon, For Your Pleasure, Band on the Run, which we've done all of those on the show. Also Pronounced, Leonard Skinner, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Quadrophenia, Berlin, Houses of the Holy, and Tubular Bells all came out this year. So it's like, it's a really, really, really long time ago, really. And then you listen to it and you go, my God, it's kind of, it's not like it's dated at all, is it? It's incredible.
Yeah. Yes, it's evergreen music and radio play. So here stateside, we have classic rock radio stations, and their music is in rotation daily. I mean, if you listen to a classic rock station here for, I would say, no longer than 2 hours, you're more than likely, or the odds are good, that an MTB, we abbreviate MTB, a song will come on the radio. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think so. In my research, said this stands as a foundational pillar in the Southern rock genre, and it's not just a collection of songs. It was a declaration of a unique musical identity that would profoundly influence the landscape of American music. And I think what's really interesting is that and I say Americana, but it's any genre of music. It can either it can be quite cliched and kind of kitschy, or it can be like proper serious music. And this falls into that category. Now, I'd heard the name Marshall Tucker Group, but I'd not Marshall Tucker Band, but I'd not actually heard the music, I don't think. But what was really interesting is that from the first kind of Needle Going Into the Groove, 1973, so it would be Needle Going Into the Groove,
right?
Or it immediately it kind of it has a charming familiarity to it, doesn't it?
It does. It's really comfortable music, and as we get into the album, this album, but I mean, in general, they're a little all over the place, as we'll see from the last track to the first track. And two things I wanted to bring up. One, I'm deviating for just a moment, where this was recorded, and you probably researched this in Capricorn Studios. That studio also produced the Allman Brothers, Delbert McClinton, and then maybe kind of sort of in the same genre, though. I mean, I think that's fair. The Dixie Dregs, which I don't know if y'all have covered one of their albums, but that will blow your mind, and they're all over the place. So some powerful bands coming out of this one studio in Macon, Georgia, which is about a 4-hour drive from Spartanburg. So for them, a little more than a day trip.
On the doorstep again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think that the story of how they got the name is really. Did you see this? How they got
Yes, it's a hoot. Yes.
Just go on. You can tell the story then. It's
sure. So the rehearsal space they were using prior to forming this name, they had a key for the rehearsal space, just a door key. And, the legend is either it was etched on the key or there was a tag on the door key, and there was a name, Marshall Tucker. And as it turns out, Marshall Tucker, who just died in 2023 at the age of 99, was a blind piano tuner who had perfect pitch. He was born blind, and he used that space to tune and to also do some piano repair work. And the guys just kind of hadn't really settled on a name. Basically, there's a couple versions of the story, but they looked at the key. I can't remember who it was, and they're like, "That's what we're going to go with." And they're like, "Fine." And they went off and had lunch, and that's how the name came about.
It's just so cool, isn't it? And there's that lovely sort of serendipity in that, isn't there?
Yes. And so fascinating researching, I was able to find a news interview with the Marshall Tucker.
Oh, right.
Just from like a local TV station just a few years ago. And apparently he did go on in his lifetime to be a huge advocate for the blind, and had a very successful lobbying part in Washington and locally at a state level in establishing resources for folks that are blind. I just thought, really cool name. He's got a great name, a great band name, but obviously a very genuine and wonderful human being on top of that.
Yeah, fantastic. So before we have any more talk, should we start with the first track, Take the Highway?
Let's go for it.
I mean, what a fantastic start to an album. And I thought one of the things, so listening to this for the first time, one of the things was that obviously with the flute, I immediately thought of Jethro Tull, which is very kind of flute and guitar based music. And it's one of those sounds that just makes you sit up and take notice because it's very different to everything else that's out there.
I think that is the flute and the sax. So that, that's Jerry Eubanks, and he played the flute, the sax, and also keyboards, keys. It makes the band. It's their differentiator. I'm not going to lie. Okay. So I was born in 78. That's not really where I was going. I'm trying to think if I was in high school in the 70s and I'm forming a rock band with my classmates, I'm not so sure flute would be the guy that I'm pointing to, man,
No, absolutely. But I think it's part of that kind of identity. So I've got here as a note to this. So it was produced by Paul Hornsby, released in 73 and certified gold in 75, which actually is surprising because that's not exactly massive sales. It's not like it rocketed into number one. All of the tracks were written by Toy Caldwell. It was so Can't You See was also lead sung by Toy and released as a popular single and re-released in 1977 when it generated much airplay. It's the group's best known song. But after the release of the album, the band began touring and playing upwards of 300 shows per year, which is like Beatles territory in terms of the number of shows that you're doing. So I can only imagine that like 5 or 10 years down the road, these guys would be such a tight unit, having just been pretty much gigging every single night, which is just remarkable. And the Southern rock fiddler Charlie Daniels, who we all know from Devil Went Down to Georgia, recalled that the Marshall Tucker Band came out when he was playing with them, came out on stage and just blew it away from start to finish. And you can imagine that clearly, these guys are talented. You don't get to make this sort of music in the studio if you're not talented. But that kind of apprenticeship that you do when you're out on the road, just constantly going from one gig to the next, must have been remarkable to see. Have you seen them live?
I have not seen them live, but of course they still tour, which comes to another point. I think about all of the bands that have reunited in the last 20 years, looking for a little payday. And then they many of them find out they actually do like each other. They certainly do like the money, but this band has been touring since 1973. Of course, the lineup now looks very different, and it looked very different after the early 1980s, but nonstop, and including Doug, the lead vocalist, just bowed out. He's got some health issues this year, but he's been around forever. I can't imagine. And then, of course, when you go to research and you look at the list of band members, given that it's 50 years later, the list is like 2 or 3 dozen people long that have played, but it's crazy.
Well, a number of the original lineup are dead now, aren't they? They've passed away over that 50-year period. But I mean, it is a remarkable achievement to be together for 50 years. And if you think about it, there are a handful of bands that are like the Stones and people like that. But most of these bands kind of fragment, no matter how big they were, they fragment and go off and do their own thing, don't they?
They do. And that much time on the road can be crushing. It's crushing to your family. If you have a family, it's too much time with your bandmates, decade after decade. I think, some of the big acts that somebody can probably comment to the Stones, they probably all travel in their own individual buses or their own individual jets. I've had enough time with you guys my whole life. I'll take a break when we're traveling.
Yeah, and I think that often that closeness, like you say, can be a wedge that drives between them. So that I've seen loads of stuff, because I'm quite a Beatles fan. I've seen loads of stuff on the Beatles where they would take a floor in a hotel, and then they'd all end up in one of their rooms. And there's this famous photo of them in, I think is it George in the bath, and the 3 of them in there with like a guitar, and they're all singing, and he's in the bath, and they're all just kind of jamming together. And it's like, these guys were best mates, and they were together 24/7 for extended periods of time. And then, like you say, it gets to the end, and it's just like, I'm sorry, David, I've just had enough of you. Nothing personal, mate, but I've got to go and live my own life. Yeah. And I think that the fact that they've kept going for so long, I don't know whether it's because they were particularly compatible, or simply the music pulled them together and kept them together.
And they've done it. I mean, it is remarkable. One quick tidbit on that, as we talk about geography and everyone being together. Jerry, the flute player, made it all the way through 1996. So for 23 years, he toured with the various versions of the lineup, and he still plays music, and he's still taking. But he and his wife have a little hand. They make soap by hand in a little town in South Carolina. I think it's great. And he had 8 children. So in 96, he was like, I need to spend some time with my family. And I think that's very fair.
Yeah, absolutely. But he wasn't on the road all the time, clearly, with 8 children, was he? He was back.
It could have been. Right.
Yeah, so track 2, Can't You See, obviously their most famous song, and the one that they're really known for. A typical blend of country rock and southern rock kind of sound to it. In my notes, lyrics are noted for being dark, reflecting themes of heartache and a man seeking to escape and heal himself. It's part of the lyrics in here about married and buried as people kind of move on, which is
it's heavy stuff for a 26-year-old or 25 when he wrote this song, right?
Yeah. And actually, I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, looking at it through that lens, that's, it is some fairly heavy duty themes. So here we go. Can't You See?
Gonna take a freight train see? Oh, can't you see what that woman, Lord, she been doing to me?
It's funny, isn't it? Because it could almost be the Allman Brothers. If it wasn't for the flute, it could almost be the Allman Brothers. Yeah, absolutely amazing group. And obviously we did live at Fillmore East with I did that with Jim a few months back. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very typical Southern rock kind of feel to it, isn't it?
This is, listen, I think that the melody from the flute, the intro, his Toy, you know, singing vocals on this, the rasp and the soul in his voice. I don't think I can ever get tired of that song. I mean, just now it gave me chills. It's just a great tune, a great melody. And we've talked, it's been a while, Adam, you know, I'm more of a melody guy than a lyrics guy. I think as I've gotten older and I've mellowed out a little bit more, I turn the music down and actually sometimes try to listen to the lyrics, at least more so than I did, you know, when I was these guys' age, for sure, in my 20s. It's just, there's something about this song, all 6 minutes, or if you catch a live version and they jam out for 12 minutes, it never gets old. Side note on that, they did have a friendly radio version that is oftentimes heard here. That's about 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes, because this is a long tune.
Well, in fact, you know, the first side has only got 3 tracks on it, hasn't it? So it's got Take the Highway, Can't You See, and Losing You. So 6 and a bit minutes, 6 and a bit minutes, 5 and a bit minutes. So, I mean, they're quite meaty tracks for a band that's trying to break into the mainstream, aren't they? Because, you know, it comes on the back with the exception of prog rock, and Jim said about this music rescuing him from prog rock, except for the prog rock movement, all tracks were like 2-3 minutes long, weren't they?
Yeah.
So yes. This is quite a departure from that, really.
And I wonder, you know, you mentioned, you know, breaking into the mainstream. Was that a concern of theirs, or is it let's just make the music and the way it comes out, whether it's radio friendly or not? This is who we are, and it could be that they were just young and bullheaded, and it worked, right? Because I think as you get older, the label's going to steer you. Man, we need that 3-minute track, like max, so it can hit the airwaves.
Yeah, and I think you're probably right. You know, I think probably, you know, when you're in your 20s, you're an idealist, aren't you? And you don't think about the future or the long term. You think about the now. And no, I'm not going to compromise. This is how long the track needs to be. But that said, you know, the producers would kind of cut and shape this track into something that they thought was more palatable to, rightly or wrongly, to the market. But you know, hats off to them that it stayed as a 6-minute track on the album. Although, you know, 3 tracks on one side of an album, I think for many people, particularly in that kind of era, you know, you had an expectation, didn't you? You know, there are going to be 10, 12, 15 tracks on an album. And you buy this album and there's 8 tracks plus a bonus track. It's like, yeah, that's not a lot for your money, is it? For your 90
right? Minutes? Did I get my money's worth? It's questionable.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, I think that this follows on really nicely from the first track. You know, it's more of the same. It's got that very, very relaxed vibe. And I often think with this style of music that, you know, I can see myself in a pickup truck driving down one of those very straight long roads with a bit of the undulations in the road, you know, they're going off into the distance. And it's definitely got that feel to it, hasn't it?
It is. Listen, when I play this and I'm driving, it's crank it up and just absorb. I mean, it is a chill out tune 100%. But it conjures up a lot of emotions too, because it's just so bold. And the playing's great. I mean, we could go on for a long time. I mean, this is their biggest song, or what they're most known for. I mean, commercially, they had bigger tunes later with subsequent albums, but Can't You See is one that will live on forever.
Yeah, and I think again, you know, this is a really interesting point from Andrew. It's like, you know, when you were in your mid-20s, you were a kid, weren't you? You knew nothing about anything, and all of a sudden, you know, these people are writing really deep, heavy stuff. And it's like, where do you get this from? Because it certainly isn't from lived experience.
Right. And what separates them, this is why we're doing a show about this album, because they're just
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why they're not on one of these podcasts doing a show about our album. So the third and last track on side one, Losing You.
I told you once, and I told you twice, and I ain't gonna tell you no more. You don't do nothing that I'm telling you. Guess it's time for me to go. Finally found out the way you are. It's so hard for me to take. I can't understand the feeling. Maybe we waited a little too late. Ain't no denying you been lying.
I mean, this it's a big change of pace here, isn't it? This feels much more like your sort of line dancing, thumbs in your belt loops kind of country stuff, isn't it?
It's very, very country. You know, I'm reading the lyrics as we go along, and I think, you know, again, going back to their age, and I don't, you know, maybe I'll stop harping on this. Maybe I was just stale. I hadn't had enough girlfriends at this point to have this much loss at that age, you know. But there's a lot of relationship focused songs on this album.
Yeah, and I guess that at the end of the day, unless you've been off to war or kind of been dispossessed or flooded out or something, you know, what else is there to write about? You know, everything else is a bit inconsequential compared to this stuff, isn't
it? True, so true. You know, go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh no, I was just going back, talking about the vocals on this and the differences between Doug and Toy. It's kind of night and day, and they're able to blend the two, and then the harmonies on all their tracks are great. This one included. But I'll hold that. I've got some comments on Doug's vocals later.
Yeah, well, that's the end of side one, and I think it's kind of quite interesting that we've gone from two southern rock tracks to one which is very much feels like country, and then we turn over, and the first track, Hillbilly Band, is like a bluegrass country, not dissimilar to the Grateful Dead in some ways, and I just thought that this was an interesting way to start, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Interesting way to start the second side after what's gone before. I mean, this is the standout track so far from the album for me. It's just fantastic in my book.
It is great. When I think about modern country music, which I'm not a huge fan of, this is like a very much a commercial modern country song that, you know, a group of guys in Nashville would sit around and write. I mean, you're talking about Moonshine, which is terrible. Like, who really, I mean, I get it. I mean, I live in the mountains of Western North Carolina. It's still prevalent, but it's almost more of a novelty. It's awful, you know, but it has a lot of commercial appeal to today's music, right or wrong. But this feels very heartfelt, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do want to acknowledge Sue, when you think about it being lovelorn, as the province of late teens and early 20s. And she does make it, I'm just lame, but she makes a great point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, you've asked a girl to dance and she said no. And you know, you think your whole world is coming, because you've already got the whole future with this girl mapped out, haven't you? Before you've even spoken to her. And it's only when you get older you realise that there's a little bit more legwork to put in before you can plan your whole life out. So see you later. I'm gone. Yeah, let's have a blast.
I've been thinking about the way you've been doing me now for a long, long time. When a woman acts the way you do, somewhere you have to draw a line. Empty liquor bottles and crowded bar rooms seems to be your home. Now that I know the way you feel for me, I guess it's time for me to move on. I have tried everything I know, you to try and see my way, but now I'm tired of being made a fool. I believe it's time I had my say.
I think what's really interesting about this style of music is that there's a very rich texture to it, isn't there? There's a lot of different instruments playing to make this sound. So, you know, we've got pedal steel, we've got electric guitar, we've got mandolin, we've got flute, we've got drums, we've got obviously voices, we've got keyboards, there's a lot of stuff going on here to give it this kind of, and it does very much feel like the sort of music you might find in a bar in the country, doesn't it?
Right. So it's a song about a woman being in the bar. It's funny. I wonder if they wrote this about themselves, but you know, they're writing about a woman's behavior that is often more associated with men, and the bar room, the empty liquor bottles, but it has a bar room feel to it too. Did they do that on purpose? Were they're that good, or did it just turn out that way?
Well, like, you know, I think the inspiration for this kind of thing, you know, I mean, one of the things that watching really good musicians work is like if you've seen the Beatles documentary Get Back, when they go into the studio and, you know, one of them has the like the germ of an idea for a song, and basically they start playing and the others just come in and jam, and within a few moments the song is instantly recognizable as the thing ultimately that they cut and commit to vinyl. And I kind of think that you know, when the band are operating as a unit, they don't need to say, okay, so you're going to come in at this point, David, and do this. It's like you just know what you need to do, what the expectation is. And I think that's exactly what's going on here. You know, but there's a real joy to it, isn't there? It feels to me like they're having fun doing this stuff.
Yeah, it does. and the vibe of the whole album is that way. And for that to translate to the listener is pretty amazing. It doesn't always conveyed that way by an artist, but it has that great vibe.
Yeah, it's and you know, I think that the way the tracks kind of come together, there's variants. You know, we've been through kind of the southern rock genre, and then we've gone into country, and then we've gone into a bit of like hillbilly mountain music kind of thing, and we got some bluegrass going on here, and they're taking all of these American proper Americana styles, and they're folding them into the kind of sound that they're producing. And it's lovely because it feels like it's got a real identity to it, you know. And I think that when you listen to so much music these days, it's plastic, isn't it? You know, it's mass produced stuff, and it all sounds the same, and none of it has a strong sense of self, and none of the artists have a strong sense of self because they're crafted by the record company. I think what's really nice about not just the Marshall Tucker band, but bands of this type and this kind of era, is that you get a really strong sense of who they are and where they're from and their roots in the music. And so much of the stuff today just doesn't have any of that. It's just vacuous sound, isn't it?
It is. There's no soul. There's no soul.
Absolutely. So Ramblin', an R&B rave up is
it's got a nice fun boogie to it. Are you about to let it rip?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Just great. Interesting that uncredited in any of the kind of Wikipedia and fan base things. There's a brass section in this.
Listen, this song has so much going on. I mean, all right. So can we talk about Toys playing for a minute? And Adam, you as a fingerstyle guitarist, when you choose to be, or all the time, you'll appreciate this. So Toy, and you may have caught on to this. So Toy plays with his thumb. He'll do a little Travis picking, but it's mostly the flesh side of his thumb.
Yeah. And
they're all downstrokes. Like, come on, man. Like, and if you go watch some of his live stuff, you can't even see, his thumb's just like vibrating. It's just going, but very reminiscent on the R&B side to me of the big band. Toys playing as Albert Collins, who had a backing band, and he did all kinds of crazy stuff with his fingers and did not play with a pick. Just impressive on the solo end. I think to hear Doug's vocals on this one, that amount of vibrato, he's got very much a showman or a Broadway style to
Mm.
his sound. In fact, I read, when I was researching, I read, it's a fan site, and it was a comment about the band. And I thought this was great. And this is a great example of it in this song. And then, of course, later on subsequent albums, you see more of this. But a guy or a commenter described Marshall Tucker as a cowboy version of the band Chicago.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I was like, okay, very good. I mean, when the light bulbs went off, Mike, if we're trying to
Yeah.
put words to what they do, it's a great way to describe it. But, Doug's vocals on this, Toys playing, the big band, you've got the boogie, you've got the R&B. It's just, the song rocks.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And again, and I think that this is one of the things, isn't it? Particularly for bands that have quite a strong sense of identity and a particular sound. One of the risks is that you end up with an album of 8 tracks that all sound the same. And I mentioned earlier about Ed Sheeran, and when we were chatting before we went live, and you can't knock the guy's ability. He's amazing with a loop pedal. He's an amazing performer. 100,000 people with just him on stage with his guitar. He's got a fantastic voice, but all of his songs sound the same. And I think what's really interesting here is that we're kind of shifting through these different genres of style, and it's all unmistakably the same band. But they're picking up, oh, well, we'll have a bit of this in the mix this time. Oh, we'll have a bit of this, and we'll have a bit of this. And we've gone from Southern rock through country, and now we've got that big band R&B feel to it. And it's just amazing, isn't it? Because it's got all of that kind of stuff to keep the listener engaged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In speaking to go ahead.
No, go on.
Okay, to the diversity of the album. And this is what separates great bands from good bands. Though Ed may be, an anomaly. Good bands, certainly on a freshman album, a lot of their music sounds the same. Great bands have that diversity. They're self-aware, but it's also just their personality and their identity, that it's not all going to be whitewashed and the same tune over and over. And it playing into exactly what you're saying about the diversity is just remarkable. And this is a great example off the album.
Yeah, another great band, Toto. Similar kind of thing, phenomenally talented individuals. But I think this kind of journey through genres, the next track, My Jesus Told Me So, is like another shift again, isn't it?
It is. Go for it.
And although it's kind of not a particularly religious song, it obviously has lots of kind of gospel feel to it, which is I guess it's just fantastic and absolutely the sort of thing that I wouldn't choose to listen to normally, but it's so well delivered here that it's a great part of the mix of the album, I thought.
Yes, I'm traveling my last mile. Don't feel like I've got a place to go. Just being here thinking. I got something in this life to show. But I go through life the best way. And when people ask me how I know, I just tell them my Jesus told me so.
Just absolutely delightful, isn't it? The way that it's harmonized and the way that the the key change and the chordal progressions as it folds from one phrase into the next. Just, I mean, you absolutely know what's coming just before it comes.
You do.
But it doesn't disappoint when it arrives.
No, and I don't know if you were to came across any information about kind of where their place was in time and what the inspiration for the song was. I didn't find anything, but it fits the album too, I guess, in the sense that it's just a little all over the place. But again, it's unmistakable who the band is with each track. The backup vocals with the gospel choir sound there in the chorus, brilliant. I mean, it's what it deserves, and they recognize that and brought it on the album.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with this track is, so who's singing the lead on this? This is
Doug is singing on this one.
Right. The only thing is that, and so great black singers have that particular richness to their voice. Mm-hmm. So whether you're thinking about, I don't know, Nat King Cole or Brooke Benton or whoever, they have that rich, and he doesn't quite have the richness in the voice to pull it off in the way that perhaps you would like him to. And I think that's thrown into sharp focus when the gospel choir comes in behind him, because there's that extra kind of lusciousness to the sound that is kind of missing from his voice. But I mean, let's be honest, a credible performance. And if I could sing like that, I'd be well happy with myself.
Amen to that. I'm right there with you. And you bring up a good point. I wonder if Toy's raspiness and more soulful voice may have lent better to this song.
Because it wouldn't have sounded like it was somebody doing an impression of somebody else. Mm-hmm. He could have owned it perhaps a little bit more. But that said, it's still a great song. And again, it's another shift in style, and it's like with each song they've gone to the cupboard of musical influences and said, oh, we'll have a bit of this and we'll have a bit of this, and it's just a different style that's coming in this song. So the last song on the album proper, before the bonus track, now is this Abe's song or AB's song?
So it's Ab's song, and Toy wrote it. It's a nod to his wife Abby,
right?
And I did not see anywhere what age they were when they got married, but in 1973 he's turning 26.
Yeah.
And this is kind of coming at you from left field on the album. Talk about diversity. I can't, and I'm really surprised the label's like, okay, we'll include this. Like, it's a great song. It's just drastically different.
Yeah, but again, that helps to keep the album fresh, doesn't it? Because
very much so.
And I think the thing that I have found the biggest takeaway for me listening to this album has been that they've very clearly chosen a selection of songs to bring a range of diversity in musical styles to the album, rather than just getting in a recording studio and spending 10 days straight recording 10 days of the same stuff. And this is another example of that. Let's have a listen.
If I died 23, won't you bury me in the sunshine? Please let me know that you're still mine. Though I'm gone, my love for you is oh so strong. And when the grass grows over me, let me know you still love me. Never put nobody else above me. Then I'll know My love for you will always grow.
I mean, that's just gorgeous, isn't it? It's like a John Prine, perhaps with a little bit of Bob Dylan in there as well. It's just lovely, isn't it? Absolutely lovely.
It's, I mean, almost made me weep. I mean, it's so powerful. And this, he just poured his heart out, let it go. And that's all he had to say. 2 short verses, unlike anything else on the album. Almost from a lost time, but so folksy and still very pertinent to the decade of the 70s. But this one's pretty. I mean, heavy's not the right word. It's just beautiful poetry, and sad and beautiful and a little dark but airy. I mean, it's got everything going on, and it conjures up a lot of emotions.
Yeah. So. Yeah, everybody needs to go and read Craig's comment. That's absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. So the bonus track, and I don't know whether this was included on the album or whether this was a separate pressing on the original album, because it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So Every Day I Have the Blues, and this is not like an afterthought, because this is 12 and a bit minutes recorded in just before the album came out. So I suspect that this was an additional disc that came in the original pressing of the album. So another style again. So this will be exactly why the Allman Brothers hated Marshall Tucker. Because it's very Allman Brothers, this, isn't it?
It is. I mean, and look, we haven't talked about Paul on the drums and then Toy's brother Tommy on the bass, and they lay down the groove in this tune. And Toy goes to town, and Doug sings a couple lines. That's about it. But yes, this is very Allman-esque for sure.
And absolutely fantastic. And I imagine that if this was provided as an additional EP in the album, when you bought the original album, you would feel that you had got your money's worth, in nice contrast to the 3 tracks. So you felt shortchanged at the beginning. You then get this, and it's like, okay, so this is the lollipop that comes with the album. And I mean, what a fantastic way to round out the experience of listening to the band, because they're we've been through this smorgasbord of different musical styles, haven't we? With everything that really screams America, and the artistry of them has been absolutely on display on every single track in a different way. We've had like folky acoustic stuff, we've got big electric blues in a huge auditorium, we've got Americana, we've got gospel, we've got the whole gamut, haven't we, here?
We do, and that's what speaks to the listener. into their fans, that they encompass so much. And then if you look at the biography of Toye, Toye went into the Marine Corps out of high school and served a couple years. He was in Vietnam, got a Purple Heart. And you probably read this. He was injured. They medvaced him out for a couple weeks. What do you do when you're 19? You recover and you go back in, whether you want to or not. And so there's just this embodiment of America, if you will, but certainly of the time, in the personality of these guys, where they came from, who their influences were, and they put it all together. And so no matter, as a listener, if you lean into one genre of music or multiple genres, there's something here for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, to produce an album of this quality at a time when there was so much great stuff coming out of the US. You know, there was the Eagles, there was Creedence Clearwater Revival, there was the Allman Brothers. You know, all of these great iconic bands full of the most gifted musicians in popular music, just breathtaking. And you know, I think what's really interesting is that this as an album, it manages to elbow its way into this kind of pantheon of great records that are out there, because, you know, there's some really tough competition, and there would always be a risk of it kind of slipping below the radar, and certainly it had for me. You know, like I said, you know, I had heard the name, I had not necessarily heard the music, but also, like I said, you know, there's a lovely familiarity to this. You know, it's beautifully delivered and beautifully written.
They, you know, one thing about Marshall Tucker, though they've had a gazillion albums, we've talked about, you know, some version of the lineup has existed ever since. You know, they really did not do much past the late 1970s in terms of commercial success. So their staying power is rooted on these, you know, first 4 or 5 albums, which is a remarkable body of work. But they, unlike some of the bands you just named that continued to pump amazing music for handfuls of more years, that Marshall Tucker has the staying power that they have, basically focused on 1973 to 1977, 1978, is really quite remarkable. And it speaks to not only their musicianship, but their evergreen lyrics. Everything they've embodied just translates through the decades to now, which is remarkable.
Absolutely. So I'm with Helen here. You know, a fantastic album, and I feel, maybe because I'm into the guitar, I feel that this will be in my regular playlist in the car, in the same way that the Allman Brothers is, thanks to Jim, and you know, this is something which I need to hear more of. So, David, thank you so much. What an absolutely fantastic album to cover. Thank you for choosing it. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I'm joined by Paul Burgess, and we're going to be doing the other end of the scale. So we've got a band here from 50 years ago, and next week we're doing Olivia Rodrigo and her album Guts. She was headlining at Glastonbury just last week, so a fantastic contrast, the then and the now. So very much looking forward to that. So until then, thank you all very much indeed. Thank you, David, and I hope you enjoyed